This is QTV News. I am Ansumana Esonyasi and thanks for joining us. Our top stories. The remains of 7 November 11 victims found in a mass grave at the Yundum Barracks. TRC forensic experts say second mass grave to be exhumed. Hungary and Gambia can cooperate in agriculture. Barrow receives Hungarian, North Korean, Lebanese and Tunisian ambassadors. Plus NDP pledges. DPVR says almost all grants received. Director of Press resumes State House media briefings. Those are our top stories, and now the news in detail. Police forensic experts and investigators of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission Monday discovered what is believed to be remains of the November 11th victims buried in a mass grave at the Yundum Barracks. TRC commissioners and family members of the victims were in Yundum Barracks on Wednesday to see the exhumed remains. Mumudu Gachaga tells us more.
After a rigorous 2 weeks search for the remains of more than a dozen members of the Gambia Armed Forces allegedly executed and buried in a mass grave on the 11th of November 1994, investigators and forensic experts on Wednesday uncovered some remains. They showed commissioners of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission and family members of the exhumed remains of 7 of the victims of the incident at Yundum Barracks. Led by Superintendent Thomas Gomez, TRRC investigators, and a team of forensic experts from the Gambia Police Force identified 7 skulls from the mass grave found at the Yundum Barracks on Monday. Remains discovered in the mass grave confirmed evidence given to the Commission that the victims allegedly tied and executed are 7 skulls and what appears to resemble 7 electric wires and 7 worn-out underpants and a ring were discovered.
After being here for almost 2 weeks, these are the remains of the deceased persons that we have recovered. We started from somewhere there, behind, and went right through that other end there, and dug for a depth of about 2 meters, and we haven't seen anything around that end. Those are the areas that the witnesses said. But we know when it comes to identification of graves, witness testimonies rarely help. The day before yesterday, we came around this end, and these are the remains that we have recovered. So I'll take time to give you a rundown of all that we have here. All right. Number 11 here. Yes, sir, just give me. Remnants of the femurs. Those are some leg bones. The humerus, the hand bones. And those are some few small bones that we are also able to recover. Most of the bones have decomposed by now. As you may, this is about 25 years ago. But from what we have gathered here, we could confirm that there were 7 individuals that were buried here. We've recovered their teeth as well. And these are some of we can only rely on the teeth to be able to do the identification. Other artifacts were also recovered in the process. Among the artifacts is a ring. The importance of this ring, like I've already had a session with the family members, it's of immense value to us, or to the investigation team. It could help in the identification process. Like I have said, we could confirm that there are 7 individuals here. And the courts could also attest to that. The courts, I mean, Julol. So based on during the course of the investigation, we are told that the victims here had their hands tied behind them. And these courts could attest to that. 7 knickers, underwears were also recovered. And this could attest to the fact that they were almost half naked when they were being buried here. So these are the underwears, remnants of the underwears. These are remnants of the underwears. And number 3 is the remains of a skeleton here, of a skull here. Number three over there is also the remains of another skull. Number 4 is another skull as well. Number 5 as well. 15, 14, and number 8. So making it a total of 7. We cannot confirm for certain who were exactly buried here. That is another stage of the investigation, and that is where we'll be able to do the other part of it, to be able to actually identify who has been buried here and who has not. We will not dispute the notion that 7 people, more than 7 were buried here, but for so far, so good, this is what we are able to recover. This is just the first one. We were told there were 2 graves around here. We are hoping we believe there is one around this end. We will continue with it after this session. And there is also one at the clinic somewhere around that end. We hope to continue once we finish this, and we hope to move on to that place as well.
For the first time in 25 years, family members of the victims present at the scene had the opportunity to see remains of their loved ones, but many of them had to be consoled as they fought back tears. While forensic experts now search for a second mass grave, they are expected to make use of DNA samples of close family members for identification. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
As part of this week's diplomatic engagements at the presidency, the Gambian leader on Wednesday received at the State House the first Hungarian accredited ambassador to the Gambia, Andras Szabo. As Alusise reports, President Barrow also received the new ambassadors of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Tunisia and Lebanon.
The new and first Hungarian ambassador to the Gambia, Andras Szabo, will be based in Accra, Ghana. Speaking to reporters shortly after presenting his credentials to President Barrow, Ambassador Andras vowed to work hard to boost cooperation between Banjul and Budapest.
We spoke a lot about agriculture. We are a leading country in the world. We have one of the most developed technologies in agriculture, in food processing, in agro processing. We would like to see it happen here as well. We are a well-known country about our water management and wastewater management. So I think these are the 2 fields I can see that we can launch this cooperation very, very soon.
President Barrow also received at the State House the new ambassador of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Choi Choi. The ambassador of the East Asian nation will be based in Dakar. He promised to further strengthen the ties between Korea and the Gambia for the mutual benefit of both countries. Also based in Dakar, Ambassador Sami Haddad of Lebanon also met the Gambian leader. Lebanon, a former French colony, is one of the world's smallest sovereign states, located on the eastern shore of the Mediterranean Sea with Beirut as its capital city. Ambassador Haddad reaffirmed his commitment to reinforce Gambia-Lebanon bilateral ties. The Gambia hosts a good number of Lebanese, many of whom are into business.
It has been a great privilege and pleasure and honor to present my credentials to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Gambia, in the name of our President, His Excellency, Mr. Michel Aoun, and to convey the best greetings of the Lebanese President and government to Gambian President and government and people, and to always reaffirm the excellent relations that already exist between our two friendly countries. And I would like to thank very much His Excellency, Minister of Foreign Affairs, for always reinforcing these relations that we have in the international organizations and in the bilateral relations as well. And we would like always to see these relations staying and becoming more and more reinforced between the two countries. And of course, I would like to mention about the Lebanese community, which is a Gambian community, actually part of the Gambian society, integrated in the society from long ago. So the relations not only between the two states, but between the two peoples and the Lebanese people who are part of the Gambian and very active in the society.
This week's diplomatic engagement at the State House wrapped up with the new ambassador of Tunisia, Mehdi Passisi, presenting his credentials. He will be based in Dakar. He said with reporters that his talks with President Barrow centered on building a stronger relationship between Banjul and Tunis. This week, a total of 7 new ambassadors presented their letters of credence to President Barrow. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
The Director of Press and Public Relations at the Office of the President, Ame Bojang Sissoho, said almost all grants relating to the National Development Plan pledges have been received. She made this revelation on Wednesday during a meeting with the media at the State House in Banjul, where she spoke on a wide range of issues. Aliou Cisse was there, and here's an excerpt.
Almost all the grants related to the NDP pledges have been received to support the Gambia. These include existing projects managed by government and civil society organizations. The updates inform the President that concessional loans that have been approved in line with the IMF World Bank approval criteria. On OIC, efforts continue to be made in preparation to host the OIC summit. He has been accorded updates on the state of affairs with the construction of the International Conference Center, the urban water system, transmission and distribution. Meanwhile, Turkey is providing support in preparation for the summit with training and capacity building on security and protocol affairs. Under tourism, the President was informed that the Gambia has been rated 28th position as the best tourist destination. On education, the secondary chance education for dropouts policy for the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education has been endorsed by the President. To ensure that young people have access to skills in different parts of the country, technical and higher education facilities are being decentralized in rural areas. President Barrow endorsed the provision of centers of excellence to the youth. This is to ensure that youth have access to skills and higher education in rural areas. The focus on energy improvement continues to be amongst the priorities of the government. The head of state has been informed that ongoing maintenance work is happening, and NAWEC is doing that in anticipation of the rainy season to minimize disruption of power supply. Under trade, the Gambia has ratified the AFTA to promote fair trade and free trade among members of the continent, and to promote the value addition products across borders. The President has been informed that already work on a total of 280 kilometers of feeder road is being done countrywide. The briefing includes the survey for the construction of the Sankade Karantaba Road in Kiang in the LRR and the 80-kilometer Hakarang Road network in Nyomi. Also, he has been informed that over 95% of the Lamin-Koto Pasamas Road has been completed, and that means 109 kilometers out of the 120 has been done. Under land and regional government, the president was informed that the ministry has started a land rent recovery exercise to ensure that those with leased properties pay their rents to government. Also, the lands ministry is working on a digitalization of land records for better tracking and management. The president has been informed that some of the lands under conflict have been addressed at the courts. Citizens should await the court's decision to be implemented. The president expressed appreciation to the people of Gunjur and Berending for the maturity demonstrated in handling the unfortunate incident that recently took place in Kombo South in relation to land dispute.
The sister of the late Finance Minister Osman Korra Sise testified at the TRRC. Yabajan Sise Jaite told the commission that Korra was a role model who accepted to work with the military junta to help transform the Gambia. Babakar Sise has more on that story.
TRRC for the first time heard from the family of the late Osman Korra Sise. Testifying before the commissioners, Korra's younger sister said her brother, while working at QuantumNet in 1995, was approached and employed by the junta, first as advisor to Chairman Jammeh and later as finance minister. She also stated that her family was skeptical about Korra working with the junta, but her brother felt that he owed a duty to the Gambian people. Mrs. Yete further revealed that Korra had once confided in her mother of Edward Singate's threat to kill him, and she herself had also received a note warning her brother to be careful of Edward Singate.
May of 1995, I walked in my mom's bedroom and found Korra and my mom having a discussion. Upon entering the room, I could see my mom was a little bit uncomfortable looking on facial expressions. I asked what was going on. Korra just said, "Oh, nothing to worry about." But mom told me Korra just related a message to her saying he had an argument with Lieutenant Edward Singate at the time, and Edward Singate threatened to kill Korra. A couple days or so after that conversation with mom, I received a note from Abdullah Bojang, called Jimmy at the time. He was a prison guard. So I received a note from him, from Captain Kambi, who was at the time in Mile 2. The note I read, after Korra read the note itself, so the note said for Korra to be very careful of Edward Singate. He was very ruthless and dangerous. So after I read that information, Korra took the paper from me and shredded it and threw it in the kitchen whilst I was cooking. So he told me not to tell my mom at all because mom would be very worried for him.
She said she believed that her brother was murdered because at the time, Korra was about to deliver a budget speech which was going to reveal some financial irregularities by the junta members. On Friday, 23 June 1995, she said, Korra Sise went to see Yaya Jammeh off at the airport and never returned home. It was the following day, Saturday 24th, she said, the family learned of Korra's death. Madam Jete said she and other family members visited the mortuary in Banjul on Sunday 25th June 1995 and could not believe what they saw.
When we walked inside the mortuary, on a concrete slab, there laid a torso, a human torso, that's from the neck to the waste that was charred beyond recognition. All you could recognize is the rib cages, that this must be, at some point I even didn't think that was human, because there was no head, there were no limbs at all. And in one corner, they told us, in a bag of rice, empty bag of rice, they told us it was the skull of Korra that was in there. So I went over, looked inside of it. It did not look like a human skull to me at all.
The witness alleged that some council members visited her home a few days later, but her mother bravely rebuffed them.
After the funeral services, Vice Chairman Lieutenant Edward Singate and Yankuba Toure, amongst other dignitaries, came to extend their condolences at the house. When they arrived, I believe they met Dad in the front yard, and they were told that Mom was sitting outside in the backyard. So they proceeded to Mom. Mom was sitting on the mat with her sisters and her best friend and some of my dad's sisters too. Edward Singate approached my mom. He knelt down. He extended his hand to my mom to hold on to my mom's hand. And he said, "Accept my sympathy, Ma." And then my mom said, "You have some nerves to come here and extend your condolences after you killed my son." He did not respond. He just stayed quiet. But as he knelt down, his other hand, he just set an envelope, which I believe there was some money in it. I didn't see it, but I didn't see what was inside, but he just set down an envelope on the mat next to my mom. So my mom just grabbed that envelope and threw it towards his entourage, where one of the guys picked it up. However, after my mom did that, she looked straight into Edward's eyes and told Edward, just like Julius Caesar's spirit came back to the people that killed him, Korra's spirit will haunt each and every one of you.
Mrs. Jete further said that the then AFPRC chairman Yaya Jammeh and Lamin Kaba Bajo visited the family, and Jammeh promised that no stone would be left unturned in the investigating Korra's death, but until today, she said, nothing has been done about it. She accused the AFPRC junta of having blood in their hands for the death of her brother, Osman Korra Sise. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
The Ministry of Petroleum and Energy is implementing the Green MiniGrid Country Support Program. The program is supported by the African Development Bank through the Sustainable Energy Fund for Africa. Jennifer Sonko was at the opening at the Kaibra Beach Hotel, and Sina reports.
Green MiniGrid is the localization of small-scale electricity generation in part or wholly by renewable energy. The distribution of the energy is limited to a number of customers through a distribution network that can operate in isolation from the national electricity grid. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Energy Lamin Kamara said in order to achieve universal access to electricity by 2040, 70% of non-electrified rural villages will need to be connected through off-grid or mini-grid solutions.
This is according to estimates from the International Energy Agency. In keeping with this realization, the Gambia government has a set target to connect 1/3 of the rural population through off-grid solutions by 2030, which includes mini-grids, and standalone home systems. However, this target cannot be readily achieved without establishing the regulatory framework to stimulate both public and private investments in off-grid electrification. It is within this context that we are developing the enabling policy and regulatory framework under the GMG project to attract private sector to develop green mini-grids to supply electricity to rural communities in the Gambia and that are off the grid, thereby improving their standard of living and stimulating socio-economic activities. Other areas of key intervention for the project include project development and financing and capacity building.
The Minister of Petroleum and Energy, Fafa Sanyang, said if the program is successfully implemented, it will increase private sector participation in the energy sector, especially in off-grid places.
Grid sites to be studied will be tendered and given on concession to private sector companies to operate and provide energy services to the off-grid communities. This will complement the efforts of NAVEC in accelerating electricity access in the country. As we are gathered here today to share ideas about the Green Mini-Grids project, I encourage all of you to think out of the box and come up with smartest and most innovative thoughts that will help formulate the best Green Mini-Grids program for the country.
A series of consultations were done with key stakeholders in the energy sector, resulting to the preparation of an inception report highlighting the key policy, legal and regulatory frameworks. Also institutional roles and key framework issues as it pertains to the deployment of GMGs in the Gambia. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jenna Bosonko.
And before we end this edition of the news, here's a recap of our main stories. Police forensic experts and investigators of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission Monday discovered what is believed to be remains of the November 11 victims buried in a mass grave at the Union Barracks. TRC commissioners and family members of the victims were in Union Barracks on Wednesday to see the exhumed remains. As part of this week's diplomatic engagements at the presidency, the Gambian leader on Wednesday received at the State House the first Hungarian accredited ambassador to the Gambia, Andros Zabo. President Barrow also received the new ambassadors of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Tunisia and Lebanon. The sister of the late Finance Minister Osman Korra testified at the TRRC. Yabajan Sise Jaite told the Commission that Korra was a role model who accepted to work with the military junta to help transform the Gambia. That's it for this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Until then, stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.